I mean,
Gen Z, just
honestly,
lazy.
well, yeah, I don't agree with or disagree with that, but the biggest thing about it is I don't know why most people even bother asking questions anymore, and I do it myself. Like I'll ask a bunch of questions, but we live in the world with smartphones and internet and unlimited data. If you have a
Exactly.
question, why ask the person next to you?
The
Google's
answer is
in your
always
pocket.
the answer. That's
Look
what
it
I've
up.
told you. What I've told you for years. I mean, like the answer
It's
is
what you
right
told
there in
me
your hand.
earlier in the podcast.
Just yeah, just look it up. It's right there. Why do you want to ask somebody when you can Google it yourself? Or in your case, going back to earlier tonight before we started this chat here, you just asked an AI chatbot a question. I'm like, why aren't you just Googling it? I mean, I didn't grow up,
Okay, that's valid.
but the whole time you were growing up, Googling was a thing.
Chat GPT is free. So is Google.
So is
But
Google. I mean, if you're paying for internet, you have access to both. That's
like
just what it is. So
like
why are you asking a artificial intelligence a question when you could use your brain
here's
and
why.
frame your question into a search bar?
Here's why. Here's why.
That's what I don't understand.
I can
Why?
ask Chat GPT a question. And when I ask it a question, instead of instead of going through like Google, like if I type the same exact question into Google, Google is going to like tell me here's one, here's the other, blah 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 all the way through.
Yeah, they're going to show you a lot of sponsored ads that you have to filter through before you get to the
It's also
actual
going to give
answer.
you like each source individually. Like this is what Reddit says, this is what this site says, blah blah blah. ChatGPT will summarize all of that into one thing and then give you a list of all of the sources. So I can get all of the information at once through ChatGPT versus clicking on all of the sources Google will give me individually. That's why I use ChatGPT over that. Not
Okay,
sponsored, by
but
the way.
is it okay on that topic, but isn't like options better to where you can see different viewpoints versus a realistically programmed thing telling you the answer?
I still get different viewpoints though. It still summarizes all of the
Do
different
you
viewpoints and
do
then
you
lists all of
though?
yes. It
But do
lists it
you really?
yes. It
If you look
summarizes
at
all of the different viewpoints into one thing and then it lists all of its sources to where if one
but
viewpoint intrigues me more, I can just click on the source that that viewpoint came from.
okay,
It's
well
faster.
in that case, depending on what we're talking about, you're taking effectively one person's viewpoint instead of multiple viewpoints to form a conclusion. Okay. So if you're doing that, aren't you being a bit narrow minded?
No, because I'm reading multiple viewpoints before picking the one that is closer.
So it just spits out multiple viewpoints and you pick which one you like the best.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I don't actually use it for that specifically. Like that's a horrible example of what it's used for.
Yeah, which kind of means I'm right there, right? Because you see the flaw in that logic. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, because that logic is basically going all of these things say this is the answer and this one thing says this is the answer and you choose the one that makes you right. Like yeah, that's not no. That's not what I use it for. I use it when I get stuck on something and I'm trying to like figure it out and it'll like kind of say this site says this site says this, and it'll go through all of them, and then I'll kind of like systematically try each one of them, and it'll list the sources that it got all of them from down below, and it helps me kind of problem solve when my mind gets stuck and I can't seem to figure it out on my own. Kind of like a
I
helping
mean,
hand.
yeah, there's nothing wrong with that, but there are also actual real people that you can ask questions to get an answer. I mean, yes, there
Those
is a
real people
place
tell me to
for.
look it up.
I
No,
apologize.
no, nope, nope, nope. I won on that one. I won. I'm
I
the victor.
apologize. I apologize. I mean,
Take
we
a
just
victory
literally
lap right
said
now.
it like what 5 minutes ago. It's like you
Yeah,
got the phone You got Google, you got the internet in your pocket. Just
The
look
amount
it
of
up.
times you told me to
That
look it
does
up and now you're fussing at me for looking it up, that's wild.
no, you're not looking it up. You're cheating by
I'm
using
not,
an AI to tell you the answer.
the AI
You're
is
not
looking it
using
up for me and I'm just reading all of the resources at
exactly.
once.
You're not using your brain to come up with
No, 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 no.
a question framed
My
in a way that would give you an answer that you're looking for.
my
That's
brain
my
got
point.
hard stuck though. My brain got hard stuck. It was
Well, if
hard
you're hard
stuck
stuck,
bronze. It was hard stuck bronze, and the AI helped me become a champ. That's all I needed.
or maybe you're hard stuck playing Guild Wars. I don't know. Either way, hey, look, just use your brain to think. If you get stuck, then you go to the AI for options. That's my opinion. Don't, because this also leads into another topic of conversation for a later episode.
I agree.
But if you start relying on AI, do you stop thinking and reasoning for yourself? Maybe.
We can tie that in though. We can tie that in right now. So you bringing up the point of like futuristic technology. I mean, well, not that futuristic. We already have it, but like once there's more of it, right, and we're relying on it even more. So if you start relying on it even more to the point to where you're not really thinking for yourself, you can kind of argue that cell phones did the same thing. You're relying on the phone to remember all the numbers, so you don't have to anymore. It's the same thing. It's just technological advancement, but this one's a bit more of a step than the last one was. I
Is
mean, it
it the
makes
same
sense.
thing? Is it the same thing? I mean, I get your
It,
point. I do.
it
I
is and
see
it
it.
isn't, but that's like
Exactly.
basically
It
the same
is, but
argument,
it
though.
isn't. But one is just, it is what it is. The other is more or less either A, opinions, or B, various views, which honestly, that could be tied back into opinions, depending. So, I mean, a number is a number. You can't change that. Somebody's number is their number. Somebody's idea or thought process or
They can change their number, though.
viewpoint, well, that's a different issue. Somebody's viewpoint, if you take all of them into account, could shape your opinion differently. That's my point.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
the more, okay, let's see, let's back up. Not the more, but the varied viewpoints that you see, the more likely you are to form a cohesive, informed opinion on your own viewpoint. We're like, okay, I see what they're saying. I see what they're saying. I see what they're saying. And then you decide like where, your take on it, I guess, like your viewpoint, your opinion, what you believe falls in that spectrum. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. You're
So I'm not wrong.
no, you're not. You're I'm trying to think of how I want to phrase it. You're you're basically that kind of sounds like I'm putting words into your mouth. So I'm trying to like form the thought process in my head and like make it English to the point to where it still makes sense without me just relying on you to understand what I'm saying.
Well, I'm capable.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so correct me if I'm wrong, but let me finish my thought before you start correcting
Oh,
at the
don't
very least.
worry, I will.
I am sure. But basically you're saying like if you rely so much on one thing, like AI to like make your decisions, you're no longer like a free thinking person and you're not like making your own decisions, you're not like purposely like choosing to do this over the other thing. And we can definitely get into this like deeper into like different episode or something. But I completely agree with you, but at the same time, if you like go into something with that viewpoint, you're going into it like with almost in my mind the wrong viewpoint, you know? Like yes, it's bad to like fully rely on something to the point to where you can't think for yourself. but at the same time, you can also like view it as like a tool that just makes your life easier, right? Like smartphones are just a tool that make your life easier. You don't have to constantly remember phone numbers because the phone does it for you.
True. Don't disagree there.
Why would I have to constantly go through everything on the internet and like see multiple different sources? With ChatGPT can list all of them in summary and then put the
But
sources at
can
the
it
bottom for me to yes.
itself? But can it? Are
It
you sure?
yes.
Because I will challenge you.
It, it,
This
it,
is a
it checks it
challenge,
every time I use it.
and this is a challenge. Okay, I will challenge you right now, and I'm actually typing this down in our notes here. I will challenge you to search for something on ChatGPT. Okay, whatever topic, and then search for it on like just a straight up Google search.
I got ChatGPT going, and then we're gonna do the same thing on a Google search. And because I'm lazy, I'm just gonna
to
copy paste
see
this.
to see the difference.
I'm not gonna say it's like gonna list absolutely everything on the internet, but it's going to list like the most prevalent, like the most popular.
Exact. That's my point. Just because it's the most popular doesn't mean it's the most correct.